haven't done a video on here in a while, and I originally created this account just to focus on my art that I'm creating, but I wanted to come on here and just articulate what I'm feeling at the moment. Also, apologies for this quality, but my phone storage is full at the moment. I'm having to record this on my laptop. So I'm not sure if this will reach anyone because my following is so small, but I just wanted to come on here, even if it reaches one person this resonates with, or if it doesn't resonate with you, it's just nice to hear about other people's experiences. But I wanted to talk about the surgery I had. Tomorrow will have been 3 weeks, and it was to remove the endometriosis. And I think I've just been in my brain trying to come to terms with everything that's happened. I'm going to put my sun cream on while I'm talking to you because I don't like chatty videos and it will just make me anxious. I did have a laparoscopy before, this was a laparoscopy this time round as well, but this time it was done robotically. The first one I had done was 2 years ago, and after the surgery they told me they didn't find any endometriosis, there was no issues, and I was just discharged. No follow-up appointment, nothing. I don't know. I remember I did cry after that, and one of the nurses, he was leading me to the ward before I was discharged, and he was like, I know it can be so emotional to hear good news, and to me that wasn't good news because it meant everything I'd been experiencing, all the pain, was just unexplained. There was nothing. I didn't know why that was happening. They couldn't tell me why that was happening. But anyway, so I was referred back to the gynaecologist who had sent me to the endometriosis clinic. And when I had that appointment with her a couple of years ago now, she said as well, there's nothing else we can really do from a gynaecology point of view because they haven't found anything. We'll have to refer you to colorectal, maybe it's something that end. And I just said, is there nothing else you can think of that it would be? Because I just had in my head, I knew where the pain was. I know you can get referred pain, but I'd done so much research myself. I knew, you know your own body. And she said, well, I suppose we can do an MRI just as like a final thing to cross everything off, because I'd never actually had one. So they did that, and she said, I'll have to put on there that we're looking for endometriosis because there has to be a reason you've requested it. So I had that done, went back to her. They said, no, we didn't find, they said, they didn't say they didn't find anything, sorry. They said about referring me again to colorectal, talking about my symptoms. I said, oh, does that mean the MRI showed up? Nothing. And she went, oh, I haven't looked at that. So she looked at the MRI, and she said, oh, well, I'll just go get my, I can't remember what she called her, superior or something like that, which was the lady I'd seen before. And it turns out they did find endometriosis, deep infiltrating endometriosis leading from my uterus to my bowel. And I said to her, how is this possible when I've literally just had exploratory surgery to diagnose this and they've said there's nothing there? Is there anything else it could be? She said, well, they've said on there they think it looks like endometriosis, so we'll have to refer you back then. I said, I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't want to go back to that hospital. So they referred me back somewhere else. I obviously complained about that surgery, didn't get anywhere. And it's took that amount of time, and in between being referred back to that hospital, I saw so many different people. I did have to see the colorectal as well because she said we do that while we're waiting for the MRI. Had people telling me they could just be my veins and it might just go away. The pain could just disappear. Have I tried laying down? Things like that. And I'm not trying to scare anyone. I just want, I suppose the reason I've come on here, other than just to blab, is to say that when you have your appointments, endometriosis or anything that's going on, it is important, yes, to listen to the medical professionals, and I know there are great doctors out there. The one I've just had who's done my surgery, he was amazing. really understanding. They managed to remove everything. And I am, although trepidatious, because I have adenomyosis as well, he said, about what the future holds. I'm also excited to see what I'll be able to do soon once I've fully recovered. I'm trying to be positive, so we'll see how that goes. But I just want you to know that when you have these appointments, you should be asking questions. You should, although you shouldn't have to, fight for the care that you expect when you go to these appointments. You almost do have to sometimes, because you don't know that they'll have looked at your notes. I got into a habit of taking all my letters with me, because if you're seen at a hospital that isn't under the trust you're in, they don't have your records. So you have to be your own advocate to receive the care that you should be receiving. I'm not sure if any of this is making any sense. I'm not really much of a public speaker, even though this is just the laptop. But I don't know what I'm trying to say, really. I think I've said most of it, to be honest. But it's hard when you're in these appointments to remember what you need to say. So sometimes writing out questions beforehand is really helpful. Keeping a diary of things that pop into your head and that you can ask later on can be useful as well. It's just something that I started doing, and once I did, I really noticed an improvement in the discoveries I was getting. Because if I hadn't have asked about the MRI results, I still wouldn't know I had any problems. I'd still be walking around without this surgery being done, just thinking, oh, it's just nothing. They don't know what it is. It can't be that important. It's just my body. I don't know. Just how it works. And although that can be really frustrating, and I won't lie, I was really mad when I walked out and she said that was what the issue was, even though I'd just been through all that pain with surgery and been told there was nothing there. And when I complained, they said, oh, she did everything she could have done. Obviously she didn't, because she should have seen it. But when I went to the surgeon I'm with now, who's a specialist in Colchester, in England, and he said he looked back at the records that I had, even though they're from a different department, because he requested them, and he said, well, she shouldn't really have been doing your surgery because she's not a specialist in this field, and it's really hard to diagnose endometriosis. That's why we have specialists to do that. Now, I know lots of people have had good experiences at the hospital where the surgeon who missed my diagnosis is from. You shouldn't let anyone else's experience put you off of a hospital, but I did refuse to go back there, because I thought, what's the point in going back and seeing that same person when she didn't do her job properly the first time? And my symptoms obviously were bad, because I had that scan 4 months after the surgery, so it can't grow that quickly. There's just no way that level of endometriosis can grow that quickly and spread to your organs. But whatever you're going for, this has happened to my mum as well, not with endometriosis, but with other issues, where you'll go somewhere and she suffers from mental health, and she was passed off for so long, and they were saying, oh, you're not in pain, you're not experiencing this is your mental health making you think you're in pain. That wasn't the case at all. And I just really want you to fight for your care and what you're feeling in your own body, because they can sit there and say as much as they like, and I know it's hard to articulate things sometimes if they're talking over you and you don't feel like you're getting your point across, but that's your time, that appointment that you've had. You wait on these appointments for so long because the wait lists are very lengthy, and I just think that while you're in there, they might be asking these questions and you think, oh, I don't have anything. Just take a second and try and gather your thoughts and think, what do I need from this appointment? Why am I here? What's all the problems that I'm having, and how can this person who's here to help me help the best way that they can? So that's my blabby rant that I've just had, and yeah, that's all I have to say really. I know this is my art account, like I've said, but I just felt like I wanted to come on here and discuss that with you, really just so that I've ranted about it for a while. And it's okay if after surgery and you're still waiting on your body healing, you don't know how you feel. My family keeps saying, "Oh, do you feel better now? Like, how do you feel? Do you think that you're not going to be in pain anymore?" And I do get a bit short with them, I think, sometimes, but it's hard. Like, I don't want to answer those questions. I know I'm on here talking about it to strangers, but you don't want to get their hopes up, and you don't want your hopes to be too high, because I do have the adenomyosis as well, and although they did remove all the endometriosis, I know it can come back, and although I do think when I spoke to the doctor when he discharged me, he said my quality of life should be so much better now, which I am excited for. He's not sure how the adenomyosis will impact my pain or what my threshold is. Everyone's different. Someone who has deep infiltrating endometriosis and someone who doesn't have much, they can experience the same level or completely different levels of pain. It doesn't necessarily, the stage of your endometriosis doesn't necessarily correlate to the pain that you're experiencing, because everyone's different. And stage 4 could be on your bowel, it could be somewhere else, it could be on your ovaries, wherever it is. And I forgot what I was saying because I started running about something else. I tend to go off on tangents sometimes when I'm talking. Oh, that's it. But obviously I know my family are only asking because they care and they want what I've been through to have improved how I feel. And I really am hopeful that it will, because the surgeon seems to be hopeful, the doctor seemed to be hopeful. But it's okay if you don't feel that way yet. Just give yourself time. Like, you live with these conditions for so long before you get your appointments, before you get your surgery. It's okay for you to be nervous or trepidatious about how your life's going to look after that. That doesn't stop me from thinking about, maybe I could do this now. I could go back to exercising or yoga again. I don't have to worry all the time when we go on walks how long I'll be walking for, what I'll feel like the next day. And it does just, in my head, is opening up lots of opportunities for me, and I hope that happens. And the Facebook group I'm a part of, Endometriosis, in my area, there's people on there talking about what's happened after their laparoscopies, their excisions, and it does give me lots of hope. I think sometimes just talking to people who've been through what you're experiencing as well can just set your mind at ease. Or even if it doesn't set your mind at ease, it's just nice to know you're not alone in something. And just reading about other people's experiences can make you feel a lot more content in what you're going through. Because although you have your family to talk to, or your friends, whoever, it's not always the same when they're like, "Oh, yes, but you know they don't know what you're feeling at that time," because you can sympathise with someone or empathise with someone, but not know exactly what they're going through. So just try and make sure you have someone to talk to through whatever it is you're going through, endometriosis or otherwise, and that in your appointments you try to get across what you need to get across. You're not just answering their questions, you'll have questions as well, and that's fine to ask them. That is your time in that appointment. I've had appointments with a pain management person before where they didn't feel like my time at all, and I left there in tears because he took a phone call to the garage about a car for his daughter, and then he was just trying to tell me I was depressed because I was crying and wasn't listening to anything I was saying at all. And my mum was outside and she came in with me afterwards, but I do think sometimes if if she hadn't been there, or if it'd been a few years ago and I hadn't been as confident as I am now in what I'm saying or how I feel, I might have thought, or it had been a younger person and they'd been there alone, they could have thought, oh yeah, well maybe, I am upset, I am just depressed, and then he prescribes them something they don't need because he's not taking the time to listen to them. And that's like an extreme example, but that's why it's so important for you to just take the time when someone's saying something. And I didn't do it in that situation, but I have since then, and just think, no, what you're saying is wrong. This is what's happening. This is what I feel I need. And how do you think you can help me with that? Because that's their jobs. They're there to help you at the end of the day, and they should know what they're talking about. Of course they should. Most doctors probably do, but everyone will have different experiences. Some people will have had great doctors all the way through, nothing bad to say. Other people will have had a more staggered experience. But I just want you to remember, when you go into these appointments, it's scary. You don't know what they're going to say, or if you're getting results or anything, what's going to happen. But just try as much as you can to just take that second and level your thoughts so that you can articulate how you're feeling and what you need. I hope that's made some kind of sense and helped someone. And I'm all sun creamed up, so I can go and sit outside in the sun for a little bit. Okay, have a nice day.
Now today, all them horses running me faster. So I know if you want, baby, you can give me an answer. See, my problem is I want to know who I am. But all that matters is that I know who the hell I am. I picture young artists, they twiddling them thumbs too quick. No letter had she received. Are you one of those people that would rather disappear than show up and disagree? Or give us a thing, but no thank you. Goodbye, take care. I already got one.